You are now tuned in to Metro Focus. Inspiring talk news for you.
Hello and welcome to Metro Focus. I am your host, Melissa Faison, and today I have Detra Trueheart of Trueheart Speaks. Hello, Detra. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, Detra, I needed you to come on the show today so that you can tell Buffalo what it is that you're doing by way of Trueheart Speaks, the Young Miss Buffalo pageant, and all the wonderful things that you're doing. So, Detra, I wanted to start out by first of all asking, who is Detra Trueheart?
I could say a number of different things, but I think I am, obviously, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, but I am a life purpose generator, a purpose provoker, I'm a lover of God. I consider myself kind of a righteous renegade. I'm all about breaking rules, the right rules, but really teaching people and pushing people into their life's purpose. I'm all about speaking life. I'm all about changing lives and really helping people to become their best selves.
So I needed you to come on the show today to talk about what it is that you're doing to help people find their purpose. You said that you are a life purpose generator. What exactly does that mean?
That means that I speak life. It means that you have purpose inside of you. So a lot of people say, I don't have purpose or I'm looking for my purpose. And we all were created with purpose in mind. We all have something inside of us that we were created to do. And so my job is, once you have identified what that is to really, when you look at a generator is to kind of bring life to something, to produce it or to reveal it or to bring it out. And so my job is to bring it out, to push it, to give you kind of that extra nudge that you need, not only for your life's purpose, but your life in general. I find a lot of people who are settling, who are stuck, who are stalled, and they know that there's bigger and better out there for them. And a lot of times they're just fearful of taking that next step. And one of the things that I do is help them to take the step or give them the extra push to just jump into it.
So have you always been like this? You're very positive, very motivational, and you, like you said, you give people that push. I see you as being a very strong-willed, strong-minded individual. Have you always been this way?
I have, which I think is how I ended up being who I am now as Detra Trueheart of Trueheart Speaks Enterprises. My parents will tell you that there were days that I have always, well, not even days, but even now, where some days I'm still very stubborn. When I make my mind up about something, I'm going for it. And, it didn't always work out in my best interest, growing up, but my personality is somebody who is curious, who wants to find good in things, or who just kind of wants to find things out. I've always been that way, always.
So there's a huge misconception that a girl who knows what she wants and who will go after it, she's a B, meaning bossy, and she's just very intimidating. And that's really not the purpose, or that's not the thought behind that. She's actually a natural born leader. And I find that in you, being someone who's also a mover and shaker, I totally understand what you mean, because I was a bossy little girl as well. What do you say to young girls? Because I know you work very closely with the Young Miss Buffalo pageant. What do you say to the girls who are or who were in a shell? Because I know once they meet you, you're going to drag out of them what's laying dormant at that point. But what do you say to someone like that?
One of the things that we do with the Young Miss Buffalo pageant is we really talk to them about being true to themselves and letting them know that it's okay to let your hair down. A lot of our young girls are walking around with walls up. They don't trust a lot of people. Obviously with cyberbullying, with just the violence and the different things going on like that, they feel betrayed very easily, and people are just not trustful. And so one of the things that I share with them is that within YMBP, it's a safe place. You have an opportunity to figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like. You have an opportunity to get along with girls, which we all hear a lot of young girls, and even some women say, I don't do girls, I don't do women, I don't get along with. And I think that it's a misconception that we don't get along and that we can't get along because of what we see on television. And the bottom line is that when you come into a place where you feel safe and you come into a place where you can be around people who accept you and love you and allow you to blossom, you come out of your shell automatically. And so the process is simply organic, where we provide the atmosphere and we provide an opportunity for them to get along and to meet other girls and be around women who care about them. And then as they notice, they see our hearts. They see that we're sincere. They see that we're generous and we're genuine. And then all of a sudden you start to see, some of the shells and some of the peelings, it starts to peel away and they start to come out. And so a lot of times it's not necessarily what we say, but it's a holistic process of what we do, which our mission is to empower girls to come out of their comfort zones through a healthy process of nurturing from the inside out. And so when we tap into the inside, the outside starts to develop and you start to see that organic process take place.
That's deep. What I've discovered and what I've found being a woman myself, if a lot of issues aren't dealt with as children, we tend to take that into our adulthood, into adult life, which is why we see things like certain reality shows that will project these women in such a negative light because they've never dealt with those deeply rooted issues and situations that tend to keep us bound as women. Now, you not only deal with children though at this point. Now Trueheart Speaks has it allowed you to reach out to women and specifically women who are in leadership, who are also entrepreneurs. Can you tell us about what Trueheart Speaks represents and how you got started with that?
Absolutely. Trueheart Speaks really is about really speaking truth into the heart of women and helping them to live, love, and lead in and on purpose. One of the things that I find and I have found is that when I did my work with the girls, with Young Miss Buffalo, that I was finding that a lot of my message was transcending to the moms, to the women. As I was being asked to come and speak at, girls' conferences or girls' events, I would have like the adults saying, oh my God, your message spoke to me. And so in 2011, even though I had already had my company and it was a speaking company, when I was pregnant with my son, through prayer, God began to speak to me about women in coaching. And at the time, and I was like, what are you talking about? What is this all about? And the pieces, are still just kind of falling together and coming together. But through the work that I've been doing with women, I'm finding that we sometimes struggle with being successful and having a life at home, or having a life at home and being successful. And so in a place where you're a woman where you live, as a mother or as a wife in your role loving, and then as a leader, whether it's an entrepreneur or a professional woman as it relates to leading, you get to a place where you're trying to figure out how to make everything work.
Okay, when we come back, I'd like for you to touch on that a little bit more.
Metro Focus.
And so many things that's held us down, but now it looks like things are finally coming around. No stopping, no stopping, no stopping, no stopping, no stopping, no stopping, no stopping.
To a child, a little of your time can make a lifetime of difference. That's why the Greenville Family Partnership sponsored a hike, because kids with something to do are less likely to do drugs.
Standing right in front of them.
Whether you're a good storyteller or a good listener, you can help. To find out about community drug prevention programs, call toll-free 1-877-KIDS-313.
I can keep a kid off drugs.
I helped turn my child's public school into one with extended hours, 6 days a week year-round, filled with loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One with medical and dental services right there. A school where students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. Turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
Different words describe different people. But in the eyes of the law, there's one that fits us all. Human right number 7. We're all equal before the law. What are human rights? Find out at youthforhumanrights.org.
Welcome back to Metro Focus. I've got Detra Trueheart, mompreneur and entrepreneur and all those things rolled up in this big, huge personality in front of me. Detra's gonna tell us about juggling business, being a wife, and a mom. So what is that like, Detra? Because I know you sit before me, very cool, calm, and collective, and very strong and outspoken, but having to juggle all the titles and the reality of those titles, can you touch on that? Like, how does that impact who you are personally and professionally?
Oh, it impacts me a great deal, which is, I think, how I have transitioned into being a coach for women and leaders, because as a mom and as a wife, you know, your life changes, your priorities change, and, you know, life happens. You know, I have a 3-year-old son. My house is not clean every day. You know, sometimes it's not clean every other day. And that's simply because as soon as we pick up, he drops it all back down. And sometimes we get to a place where we're living according to expectations of what people want us to do or want us to be. And, you know, my purpose is really to help you to understand that you are simply here to be who God created you to be. Not to necessarily, you know, be who society says that you're supposed to be, or even who your parents say you're supposed to be. I remember years ago when, you know, I would talk to my parents about the things that I wanted to do, and my mom didn't get it. She didn't understand it. And we had a conversation where I had explained to her the call that I had, that I wanted to be a speaker, that I had a call on my life. And she, in her mind, there is no such thing as women preachers. And I wasn't even sure if she was going to come to my first trial sermon. And she showed up there. But for me, it was a struggle because she had her own misconceptions of how things are supposed to be, but I still had to operate in the fullness of who I knew I was called to be. And so my goal is really to help women to understand that everybody is not going to get it. And just because they don't get it, it doesn't mean that you still don't pursue it. And really for men too, I think men struggle with that as well. But for me, speaking directly to women, that you have to understand that everybody is not going to get it. And just because they don't get it, it doesn't mean that you don't go after it, right?
Right.
So that's really, for me, the biggest message is really that you can live life in and on purpose. And life is what you make it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be the big mansion. It doesn't have to be the nice cars. It doesn't have to be the things that we see on TV. It's really your definition of success, your definition of life, your definition of what purpose is for you, and then for you to pursue it. And I think we get caught up in a lot of different things. Like I had a young lady, just on a side note, that I had an opportunity to speak life into while I was at Tim Hortons last week. And one of the things that she talked about was driving a Jaguar that didn't work, but it was a Jaguar. And I walked away from that thinking, but it doesn't work. But because it's a Jaguar, it's a Jaguar. As opposed to me, I am now turned into the minivan maven. So I drive around in a minivan, right? I mean, I look spectacular, but I drive around in my minivan. But my minivan works. And so here's the thing: would you rather look like $1 million or have $1 million? Would you rather, look like a shot caller or actually be the baller in the shot caller? Right? We get into this misconception of what society says we have to be, and I don't look like this all the time. We have that whole mindset of the whole Beyonce flawless. I'm flawless. I woke up like this. I didn't wake up looking like this. Most days, because I work from home and I'm an adjunct instructor, I teach as well. I look like a regular person, but that doesn't change the purpose that's in you. And I think that we get caught up in what we look like on the outside as opposed to what we have on the inside and what we have to contribute to people. And when we continue to do that, we miss the opportunity to be real and to be genuine and to live a life that's fully lived in and on purpose.
What would you tell someone who, because you talk about living life in and on purpose, but what happens when something happens unexpectedly? Because I know, for instance, you were a dancer.
Yes.
And you were in pageants.
Yes.
And at one point in time, you thought you were going to be a professional dancer.
Well, you know, the funny part is I didn't. I danced for 20 years and never imagined myself being a professional dancer.
So you didn't expect to be, but others around you expected you to be, because you were so good at that aspect of your life.
Absolutely. Yes.
So what would you tell someone who we may think should be a certain way, but in essence and in all actuality, they're being drawn and pulled to other interests, and a lot of times people don't allow themselves to explore those interests to find out whether or not they would be good at it or not. So what would you say to someone like that? Because I think that also contributes to a lot of people's unhappiness, because they decided to follow a road that someone else had actually paved for them, as opposed to blazing a trail on their own. What would you say to someone like that?
First of all, I would say is be open. The next thing I would say is listen to the tug. Because 9 times out of 10, you feel it, and the only thing that keeps you from going in that direction is fear. Because you're afraid of what other people are going to think. You're afraid, I've invested all of this time and this energy into doing this specific thing. What are people going to think? You know, how do I make the transition? Right? I've been doing this all this time. I've been doing this for so long. How do I make the transition? And my question to you is would you want to leave this earth saying, what if? Or do you want to leave this earth saying, I did, or I tried? And I think that you have to be okay with even the fact that maybe it may not work out, but rather than leaving this earth or being in a place of always thinking, what if I tried it? Or what if it did work? Or what if things were different? And my thing is, well, why can't they be? Why can't they be different? Why can't you step out? And you have to feel the fear and do it anyway. Sometimes you just kind of have to be afraid and take the step. Because a lot of times, most people who have not done the things that they want to do, they felt the tug. And those are the people who I work with. That's the whole purpose of living life in and on purpose and helping to push you into your life's purpose. You feel the tug. You know the tug is there. You're just not sure what to do with the tug. You're not sure how to take the first step, or you've been pushed a little bit, but you're not sure how to jump. And so my thing for you is to be open. My thing for you, for those of you who are listening and watching, be open. Listen and pay attention to the tug. And then also pay attention to the 3 E's that I teach: experience, exposure, and expansion. And your expansion, being able to be expanded, once your mind is exposed to something, it can't go back. And so the only way for expansion to happen is that you have to be exposed to certain things. The only way for expansion and exposure to happen is for you to experience new things. So sometimes, even if you're not sure what the tug is, be open and try new things so that you can kind of figure out where that next step is. Because maybe you don't really know where you're going, but you know where you are right now is where you're not supposed to be.
Thank you, Detra. We will be right back with more of the 3 E's, everything that this powerful little lady has inside of her. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Metro Focus.
Can you tell which of these children was not born free? Can you tell which of these children was not born equal? Can you tell which of these children does not deserve to be treated with dignity? We can't either. Human right number 1. We are all born free and equal. What are human rights? Find out at youthforhumanrights.org.
You should wear a tie.
Dad, nobody wears ties to school.
Tie says you're serious. It'll make a good impression. And remember, You're there to study,
to learn, and to make something of myself. I got it.
Almost half of all UNCF students are the first in their family to go to college.
They have some great architecture classes.
Dad, I'm not really interested in architecture.
Well, keep your options open. And remember, no girls until
my work is done.
And I'd make sure that I got my lunch.
Dad, you're not going. I am.
I know.
Listen, we better get going. Don't want to be late the first day in.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're the first to go, you're going for a lot of people. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Welcome back to Metro Focus. I have Detra Trueheart of Trueheart Speaks in the studio with us today. Detra, you have been phenomenal. Thank you so much for being here. Can you please tell our viewers about your next launching, this workshop, Manifest Masterclass? Can you give us more information about that?
Absolutely. The Manifest Masterclass is my new upcoming coaching program. It is a 30-day jumpstart program where I am helping people to manifest life and purpose, and really to help them to those who are feeling stuck, those who are feeling stalled. It's literally 30 days with me every day. I'm sending you an email. It's an online program, and so it's an email program where I send you emails daily, in addition to assignments that you are going to be doing daily. There's a workbook, there's weekly coaching calls that you'll be joining with me. And really what it is it's for people who are ready to kind of take that next step, who are ready to launch out, who are ready to manifest those things that, and it could be, the funny thing that I have been thinking about lately was, a lot of times we think, oh, I want to manifest more money, or I want to manifest a job, or I want to manifest, a man, or, whatever, right? And so I was thinking, and, what dropped into my spirit is maybe it's not tangible. Maybe you just want to manifest more happiness, or maybe you want to manifest more peace, or maybe you want to manifest more forgiveness. Maybe you're having a hard time with some things. This also can help with that. It's not just, well, I don't have anything to manifest. I think that maybe you want to manifest more in your marriage, and I think for you to get specific on whatever it is that you want to manifest more of, this gives you that opportunity to do that. And so it's my 30-day online coaching program, the Manifest Masterclass.
I like that because it puts me in the mind of it takes 20 some odd days to develop a habit. Mm-hmm. So if you're manifesting over the course of 30 days, ultimately you're telling people and teaching them how to change their thought process.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
I find that what we focus on, we tend to magnify. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the things that you teach people to focus on during the 30-day manifesting workshops?
Mm-hmm. Some of the assignments are identifying your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why you pursue the goals that you pursue? Why you want what it is that you desire? No more excuses, getting rid of the excuses. We talk about identifying what those excuses are. Obviously, if you focus on the excuses, then you don't find a way to make the commitment to do the things that you want to do. You will always find an excuse. You will always find a way out. The other thing that I tell people to focus on is your faith. Trusting God. I am a faith mentor, and so a lot of what I do is faith-based, it's Christian-based, and so I'm not ashamed, to say that, and so a lot of what I teach is faith-based, and so you have to have something a little bit, not even a little bit, but a whole lot bigger than you, to trust in and to believe in order to manifest the things that you desire, because sometimes when you let yourself down, you need something else to hold on to. And it's funny you say that what you focus on magnifies. I teach what you focus on grows, and so what you feed expands. And so either you're going to feed your faith or you're going to feed fear. And you have to decide whatever that's going to be, less fear, more fulfillment, less fear and more focus. And so those are just a few tidbits of things that we talk about. You know, we even go into planning the work and working the plan, taking time out to figure out exactly what it is that you need to be doing on a daily basis to manifest those things. Because again, this is not a get rich quick type program. In 30 days, I'll have manifested all of the happiness that I need, right? It's really a platform for you to develop the habit of manifesting what you desire and then to keep doing it once the program is over.
That's awesome, because you have a lot of people who they look at their current situation and they base their future off of past experiences and what they see around them. So it's very important that you talk about faith. And also through the 30 days of change, it's important to change the way you think and the way you speak.
Absolutely.
Because I know that you are, Trueheart Speaks, and you are all about what you say.
Yes.
I'd like for you to talk about that to our viewers, because what you say will manifest through our words. Words are spirit.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't understand that.
Yes.
We do have the power of life and death in our tongue.
Absolutely. You saying it.
Well, I want you to say it, because you always talk about how important it is to speak those things into existence.
Yeah.
Is that part of your master class?
Yeah, I do. We do talk about you are what you say. Self-talk is huge, and what you say to and about yourself is so much more important than what others say to and about you. And you know, when you look in the mirror, what are you saying about yourself? There's some people who will not look themselves in the mirror and talk to themselves. And if you can't talk to yourself and you can't speak life into yourself, a lot of times it is easier to encourage someone else. But sometimes you need to encourage yourself. Sometimes you have to speak life into yourself. Sometimes you have to tell yourself, I am enough. Sometimes you have to tell yourself, I have what it takes to make it. Sometimes you have to tell yourself, I am worth the happiness that I desire. Right? We have to speak those things that be not as though they were. And so maybe that's not the case now, but if it's something that you desire, you have to start speaking it now, because where you are now is because of the thoughts and the words that you spoke last year. And so if you think about your thoughts and you think about the words that you speak and you think about where you desire to be 365 days from today, October or November or whatever day it is, I think that you need to think about where you want to be 365 days, and you need to start thinking and speaking where you want to be. And I'm here to tell you that the very essence of Trueheart Speaks and the very essence of the Young Miss Buffalo pageant is based off of the words, the vision, and the thoughts that I had. I wrote the vision, I made it plain. And so things started to come to fruition. And as I started talking to people and telling people about my program, the Young Miss Buffalo Pageant Scholarship and Enrichment Program, a girls program for girls 13 to 17, this is what I want to do. This is how it's going to be. When I started writing it out, I knew what I wanted my girls to take away from the program. And things started to manifest. And so if that's what you desire, you have to open your mouth. A closed mouth does not get fed, and a closed hand cannot receive. And so you have to be in a place where if you want to receive, you have to open yourself up. You have to open your mouth. You have to change what you think, change what you say. And then also you have to take the step to change what you're doing. And that's really what it's about. And that is what I teach. I teach about the thought process, mindset, manifestations. You have to be able to think it. You have to be able to speak it. And then you have to do it.
That's fantastic. That's about all I can say. How can our viewers get in touch with you? What is your contact information?
They can find me at trueheartspeaks.com. That's my website. They can also find me at Detra at trueheartspeaks.com, which is my email. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under Trueheart Speaks. And then I'm on Pinterest, LinkedIn, Google+, YouTube, I think under my name, Detra Trueheart. I mean, if you just Google me, if you go into Google and type in Trueheart Speaks or type in Detra Trueheart, you'll find a list of things. But that's how you can find me. I'm here.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I had such a great time.
Excellent. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day.
To Metro Focus. Inspiring talk news for you.